We talk frequently on this channel on taking control over your own computer systems. And today we have a case study from Google as to why this is critically important. One of these deals with a case study in security, and one of these deals with a case study in, wow, somebody just lost absolutely everything. And we're going to talk about these two cases today. Thanks for checking out this video from Switched to Linux. If you like this type of content where we talk about either how to switch to Linux, how to use alternative software, or hey, maybe like today, motivations and reasons you might want to consider new approaches to your computing and your life, then this is the channel for you. So go ahead and subscribe if you've not already done so, and leave us a comment and a like down below. So today we want to get into some things that happen with Google, and neither one of these is like absolutely groundbreaking, but they're small tremblings of things that we want to keep in mind as we talk about storing our computer data with other people as the world kind of wants us to. I mean, it's very difficult to have email that's not Google or Microsoft or Yahoo or one of these other big companies. It's difficult to do that. And it is a little bit more difficult to have good comprehensive backup strategies without having some system that wants to store it in some cloud file or stuff like that. And so today we want to look at two specific case studies where the circumstances surrounding it lead to a few questions. And both of these have to do with Google, although Google is not the only company here. In fact, I would say if you're talking about security stuff, Google's probably one of the better ones. But even then, there are a few issues. So this first one deals with a data leak. This one here deals with a data leak. So Google suffers a mother of all leaks. It exposes how its secret algorithm decides what you see. We've talked, of course, a lot about search engines and finding a search engine that doesn't give you tailored responses, because a tailored response search engine kind of keeps you inside of your own echo chamber rather than giving you global results. This is why I like companies like StartPage, who gives us Google results without a personal filter, or DuckDuckGo will give us Microsoft results without a personal filter. Brave does its own thing. I'm not sure if they use any forms of algorithms at all. I just don't know. And it's such a new engine. It wouldn't surprise me if it doesn't at this time. And especially we have to consider that those three search engines, StartPage, DuckDuckGo, and Brave, take a lot more approach to personal privacy. Neither of them are completely perfect, but they are good alternatives to a Google or a Microsoft, which collects incessant amounts of data and then uses this to give you information that it thinks you want to see rather than information that answers the questions that you ask. And what this deals with is SEO and how Google pages are ranked. And so for a long time, Google has denied that it's dependent on the click-through rate, although these documents that were leaked suggest that that is actually the case. Even though they have denied this back as long as 2019, even up to the modern era, of course, their response to this is that, yes, these documents are genuine, but they are old documents. They're no longer relevant. Maybe there was a time that they used click-through rates, but I don't know. We don't know for sure. The point of this is not about how Google shows you information. The point of this is that even a company like Google has had a blunder which caused company data server information to be leaked out on the internet. This isn't the first leak, of course. We talked in the past about the Selfish Ledger, although I think that might have been an employee that leaked it rather than some security breach like this. And so it begs this question, why are we all of a sudden getting a lot more security breaches? Some people think we might have the answers, but we're not going to consider that specifically. We just want to say, hey, the fact that a company like Google does have a security instance where data does leak out means that it's very possible for your personal data to leak out as well. And so the less information you have on the internet about you, absolutely the better. This is why I think we need strong comprehensive laws that says, number one, we need to ban all of these data brokers that are just collecting data any way they can and then sharing amongst everybody else. Number two, we need to ban a company collecting any more information that is critically important for what they're doing, i.e., you don't need to know my address if you're doing something with me digitally. Okay, there's no reason my address needs to go go out on the internet for the vast majority of services that are out there. Of course, this flies in the face of things like the Patriot Act and stuff that involves itself in the know your customer laws, but whatever the case. Regardless, this particular article did cover through this information and how Google feeds you information, but I wanted to focus more on the security end. Now, you might, and this deals more with companies, but we have to think about our own data as well. So Google Cloud explains how it accidentally deleted a customer account. 647,000 users faced 2 weeks of downtime, and this is a pension fund. So a pension fund goes out. 647,000 people were possibly without any information about their pensions, maybe without, depending on when it is, maybe without money from pensions or things like that. This is a huge issue, which didn't have anything to do with the company, except that the company placed all of its eggs in Google's basket. So what happened is an employee was working on VMware, where all of these different Google Cloud accounts were being stored, and made a misconfiguration in the file, and it permanently deleted everything, including backups. Eventually, I think they got it back, maybe out of some cold backup or something. I don't know. But regardless, the employee made an error, and that error resulted in this massive company with pension funds to close itself down because they lost everything. 2 weeks of total downtime. So joint statements from Google Cloud CEO and Uber Super CEO, which is the company, a lot of apologies and presumably a lot of worried companies who wondered if their retirement fund had just disappeared. Talk about not wanting to induce a heart attack in a retired age person, but that's the case. In the immediate aftermath, the explanation we got was the disruption arose from an unprecedented sequence of events whereby an inadvertent misconfiguration during provisioning of Ubersoft's private cloud services ultimately resulted in the deletion of their cloud subscription. 2 weeks later, a Google Cloud's internal review of the problem is finished, and the company had a blog post up to deal with it. TLDR, it sounds like a Google employee got an input wrong. So was this a hire that wasn't as qualified as they should have been, or was this some expert who did a whoops? And I remember, I have to stop and pause here for a brief second, because I remember a situation like this happened to me as I was just getting into server management for people. I'm going to host my own websites for clients, and this is when I first started this a number of years ago, and I was using I think it's WMCAMS or something, WHCMS, I think, which is a big software package used for client portal maintenance of web servers through cPanel, etc., which was a great product until they went with a subscription-only service, and I said, yeah, never mind with that. Not paying you monthly for a service like this. But it had a lot of really great automation stuff. It would automatically send out invoices to clients and things like that. Well, I had a misconfiguration on my account that I didn't know about for a while, and after about a year, I'm like, oh, that should be turned on. I turned it on, and because the system wasn't set up right the first time, what it did is, since it was turned on a year later, and it wasn't following the proper process of things, it looked at every one of my client accounts and said, oh, these are expired, and it terminated the accounts, deleting everything. And I'm actually out at a business trip, so I wake up at 6 a.m. I'm like, all of my clients' web servers are gone, because I was a young person at this and didn't know all the configuration systems. And yeah, fortunately, I always have had good backup strategies, and I did my nuclear option, which was just push one button, restore everything from 48 hours early. We might have lost a day's worth of data, but other than that, we didn't lose a lot. So what happened is I had a learning experience where I configured that server from going, instead of terminating accounts that were expired, to suspend accounts that were expired, requiring me to see a suspended account, see why it's suspended, and if it's legitimately out of service, okay, we'll go ahead and terminate it manually. So get rid of all that manual termination stuff. Well, that's what they didn't do here. Now, you say, well, this is Google business, etc. Well, the fact that this is a massive Google business that's likely paying Google millions of dollars to manage this kind of stuff is a good thing for the company because they were able to get their data back and get somebody from Google on the phone and get the high-ups involved, and the Google Cloud CEO gets involved, and they figure this out. But there have been cases of people who have put all of their data on Google, and we're talking about your contacts. Do you know your mother's phone number off the top of your head? Well, if you've just relied on your phone to do that, and Google either makes a mistake or, hey, thinks that you have engaged in wrongthink and simply pushes the button and deletes your account, well, guess what? All of that stuff, all of your text syncing to Google, all of your images syncing to Google, all of your contacts syncing to Google, all of that stuff is gone in a moment. And if you're a single individual person, you have about a snowball's chance in hell of getting that data back. And so it begs this question, are we putting all of our eggs in Google's basket? They went ahead and they were able to get information from cold storage, get things back up. So this is actually what it said down here. Data backups were also stored in the Google Cloud Storage. So don't store your backups in one place either. In the same region that were not impacted by the deletion, and along with third-party backup software, were instrumental in the rapid restoration. Okay, so they had backups stored with them. Okay, so that's where I actually read this article a few times. I missed that before. Data backups that were stored in Google Cloud Storage in the same region were not impacted by the deletion. So the backups were not impacted. The primary business was, but it still did take them 2 weeks to get back up and running. They also had offline backups. That's important. Make sure you have offline backups. And it's hard to square these two statements, especially within 2-week recovery period. The goal of backup is to be quickly restored. So either UniSuper's backup didn't get deleted and weren't effective, leading to 2 weeks of downtime. So despite having all this, they were able to get up, but it wasn't as fast as it should have been. You see, when I had my server misconfiguration, I had everybody's site back up in 1 hour. Because I had this exact thing. I knew exactly what I was doing with backup. I was like, wow, that was a dumb thing. Push button, boom, server restored to a couple days ago. We're done. And we were back online in an hour. And I never even missed anything with my business conference I was out for. And so that's the problem they had here, is they weren't done. So they had backups, but they weren't checking them. They weren't verifying them. Now, Google has taken several steps to make sure this doesn't happen again, of course, to the business end, but it begs that question for you. Do you have access? Do you have control over the information that you have on your particular files? So we did cover, if you go back and watch my NextCloud video where we talked about doing a personal NextCloud, I explained in detail how to get your contacts off of not just Google, but also off of Apple. On a Google phone, it's quite easy. You can go into the contacts, you can export the card file onto a digital file, and you can take that file and save it in your safe offline backups. And if the worst should happen, you still can open up that file in a number of different applications for managing address books, and you can still at least manually see the information. And you can take that file and you can import that into contacts on any other Google phone or Android phone in the future, so you do not have to lose your stuff. But if you are relying on Google to save a copy of all of your images, there have been horror stories of people who lost their entire life's worth of memories because they put it all in one place. And either a misconfiguration, a misunderstanding, or something goofy went wrong. I can just think back to the more recent one where this is during the Kufi times, when a man, his toddler son has had some type of rash over his private regions, and he calls the doctor, and the doctor says, hey, take a picture and send it to me. So he does what the doctor said, takes a picture of the junk, sends it to him, and the doctor involved in treatment says, okay, do this, and if that doesn't work, come see me. But Google flagged the account and locked it. And he lost all of the data tied to that account. And then, of course, the police show up at his house and blah, 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 because Google does stupid things sometimes. This is why I tell people don't rely on Google services for pretty much anything. that you don't have to. And so make sure if you are using these services that you're not relying on them. Do you have a copy of your card file from your contacts? So if the worst should happen, you still have all of your contacts. Do you have your images stored in other places that you can access easily? Do you have access to your calendar files? You can grab things like that. This is why I did that video a few weeks back on a full comprehensive local NextCloud server utilizing a Raspberry Pi. So definitely, if you are interested or want to try those things out, pick yourself up a Raspberry Pi. It doesn't even have to be the top of the line ones. You can get away with a 2 or I don't know if about 2 these days. You can get away with a 3, although I definitely do a 4 or a 5. And you can go ahead and run that NextCloud Pi, and you can set up a local system with good comprehensive backup so that you have a good backup solution for everything that you are working towards. And that way you have taken personal control and not relied on a company that could accidentally leak your data or could accidentally delete your data, or maybe, hey, on purpose delete your data because it thinks you're who you're not or whatever else. So this is a case study in good personal responsibility. With that, guys, thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel if you like this type of content, and I will go ahead and include that NextCloud tutorial video here and the end screen. Watch that to maybe get some ideas about taking more personal control. With that, thanks for watching, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.